I've always been terrified, still am, of water, dark water, seawater.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we'll be discussing 10 unsolved mysteries from classic Hollywood.
I wasn't here, I don't know. I shouldn't even be talking about that. But it's turned out to be one of the major news story, unsolved mysteries of all time.
For this list, we'll be looking back on some of the most enduring stories and cases from the classic Hollywood era, many of which still intrigue historians today. Are you particularly interested in any of these Hollywood mysteries? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. The end of an icon. We'll probably never truly know the circumstances surrounding the death of Norma Jean Mortensen, better known as Marilyn Monroe. Although her demise has officially been attributed to self-destruction, conspiracy theories continue to swirl around Monroe's barbiturate overdose on the evening of August 4th, 1962.
Who was actually at the house? And what were they doing? Why were they there?
Monroe's private life was the subject of equal speculation, particularly her romantic involvements, mental health struggles, and issues with substance use disorder. Everyone from organized crime to the FBI has been accused at one point or another of having some sort of hand in Monroe's death.
The man that really was involved was the boss. He was the Attorney General of the United States, so he could have the FBI do anything.
Up until now, none of these claims have arrived with any factual evidence. Still, the mystery continues to haunt Monroe's legions of fans to this day.
Everything that I would see. And I wanted to know.
Number 9. Virginia Rapé and Fatty Arbuckle. It was a scandal that ruined the career of one actor and cost the life of another. We're discussing the reported liaison between silent film stars Virginia Rapé and Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. The pair encountered each other at a party held by Arbuckle at his hotel suite on September 5th, 1921.
Some sources say that she started screaming at the party, and when her friends asked her, like, what's wrong? What's wrong? She started yelling, he did it! Others say that once she started feeling sick, she just went home and immediately hopped into bed, and she just never got out.
Rapé had visited the suite with an acquaintance, Bambina Maud Delmont, a woman with a litigious reputation who accused Arbuckle of attacking Virginia at the party. It was further alleged that the encounter led to Rapé's death 4 days later due to secondary peritonitis and a ruptured bladder.
The actor was taken into police custody. This happened despite most of the evidence, including the autopsy, having yet to arrive.
Arbuckle was acquitted of all charges, while witnesses at the trial asserted that Rapé's death was actually due to previous conditions of cystitis and venereal disease.
Not only was he found not guilty, but the jury took just 5 minutes to reach that verdict, much of which was spent writing an unprecedented apology note to Arbuckle.
Number 8. The death of William Desmond Taylor. The murder of William Desmond Taylor was a Hollywood scandal that occurred concurrently with the headline-grabbing Fatty Arbuckle trial. Taylor's case may be lesser known, but it remains an intriguing Hollywood mystery.
Taylor was well-liked, respected, and seen as a leading filmmaker. Taylor himself even starred in one of the first feature films that would define Hollywood.
The prolific silent film director was found dead at his Los Angeles apartment on February 2nd, 1922. Strangeness occurred almost immediately when someone identifying themselves as a doctor suddenly appeared from the crowd and pronounced Taylor's death due to a stomach hemorrhage. This was despite the bullet hole that would soon be found on the director's back.
Bizarrely, the police would later consider this could mean Taylor was embracing somebody, who then shot him in the back.
There was clearly foul play here, with a laundry list of well-known Hollywood types, all with potential motives to kill Taylor. Yet, thanks to alleged corruption and crime scene disruption, the case was never solved.
An intertwined web of stardom, lust, jealousy, and rage set against the backdrop of the false facade of glitz and glamour in an immoral Hollywood. In the end, all we can do is take a guess as to who was truly responsible.
Number 7. Pasolini, a murdered maverick. Pier Paolo Pasolini was one of the most daring and unique Italian film directors of his day.
Quali sono I suoi nemici?
Ma non lo so, non di conto. Sì, sento ogni tanto delle ondate di inimicizia, delle volte inesplicabile, che non ho voglia di occuparmene molto.
He became infamous for his 1975 film Salo, or The 120 Days of Sodom, a raging political piece notable for its intensely graphic content.
Questa narrazione ha l'obiettivo di infiammare l'immaginazione e ogni lascivia sarà permessa.
Tragically, Pasolini's real-life death was equally graphic and shockingly violent. The filmmaker was burned, physically attacked, and run over multiple times by his own car. The man initially arrested for Pasolini's murder, Giuseppe Pelosi, claimed that his confession was coerced. Further investigation led to the theory that Pasolini was being extorted by unknown assailants, and today, those responsible for his murder have yet to be brought to justice.
Siete fuori dai confini di ogni legalità. Nessuno sulla terra sa che voi siete qui. Per tutto quanto riguarda il mondo, voi siete già morti.
Number 6. George Reeves, the first Superman. The life and death of George Reeves were dramatized in the 2006 film Hollywoodland, and it remains a compelling golden age mystery.
Can you help me understand? Will you please help me?
Did you know George?
Why don't you tell me about him?
Reeves was the first actor to play Superman during the 1950s, and quickly gained a fan following for his work. However, it was alleged that Reeves was depressed due to his personal finances and typecasting as the Man of Steel.
But George, that's all you were good for. 10-year-olds and shut-ins. That was the best you were ever going to be. I knew that. Why didn't you?
Reeves died of a gunshot wound on June 16, 1959, with many arguing as to whether it was self-inflicted. The crime scene investigation was messy from the start, thanks to bullet and fingerprint evidence that potentially shifted Reeves' cause of death away from self-destruction. The fact that Reeves' demise occurred during a party at his home resulted in multiple conflicting statements from guests.
There is evidence to support a tragic accident, and there is evidence to support murder. The only people who know how George Reeves died are no longer with us.
Number 5. Who killed Bob Crane?
It was a particularly grisly crime, and police are no closer to solving the murder of one of America's most popular TV characters of the 1960s.
The case of Bob Crane was another that featured the Hollywood dramatization treatment, this time with 2002's Autofocus. The film offered further, albeit speculatory evidence of a theory behind Bob Crane's murder. It claimed that Crane's friend, John Henry Carpenter, was responsible for the murder. The theory further alleges that Carpenter and the Hogan's Hero star had some sort of falling out after the former routinely assisted Crane in videotaping his numerous sexual encounters.
Sex thing, Patty thing, the fruit thing, I don't even recognize my own life anymore.
Carpenter was arrested and ultimately acquitted of the murder in 1994. Yet, there remain those who are committed to this narrative that John Henry Carpenter killed Bob Crane. But if it wasn't Carpenter, then who was it?
The case is still open. Police still looking for leads, but all sides agree it'll probably remain one of Hollywood's most brutal, unsolved murder mysteries.
Number 4. Thelma Todd. Accident or self-destruction? Thelma Todd stood out amongst even the most glamorous of Golden Age Hollywood superstars. This was not only thanks to her reputable beauty, but also her brief but prolific career on the silver screen.
You always do what you want, don't you?
I always know what I want, and usually get it.
However, her body was found inside her car on the morning of December 16, 1935. Todd had perished from carbon monoxide poisoning. Yet, many of those who knew her suspected no inclination of self-destruction within Todd's demeanor, with friends at the time claiming the actress was in good spirits.
Her restaurant was a hot new success. She had recently signed a new film contract, and the trunk of her car was full of Christmas presents for family and friends.
Additionally, the body was found within a garage owned by actress Jewel Carmen, whose husband, director Roland West, was having an affair with Todd. It was the sort of messy Hollywood mystery that was never going to result in any clear-cut answers.
While her death was officially ruled an accident, there are enough suspicious incongruencies in her final hours to keep her story alive these more than 80 years later.
Number 3. Where is Jean Spangler? The aspiring actress Jean Spangler has been missing for over 70 years now, with little to no evidence emerging as to whatever happened to this mother and performer.
I'm going to a movie shoot, and I have to also go by my ex-husband's house to see if I can get an increase in my child support payments. She never came home.
Spangler disappeared on the night of October 7th, 1949, after stopping off at a grocery store on her way to meet her ex-husband. Her purse was later recovered with a note to someone only mentioned as Kirk.
The note said, "Kirk can't wait any longer. Going to see Dr. Scott. It'll work out best this way while Mother is away."
Speculation has led to the theory that the Kirk in question was Kirk Douglas, with whom Spangler had worked on set. The theory further insinuated that Jean was planning to terminate a pregnancy. Still, others claim that mobsters associated with Spangler's workplace were to blame. The case is still open today, but the mystery remains as to where exactly is Jean Spangler.
You know, it's sad that there's no ending to it when the body's not found. There's no ending. And you wonder, I wonder who killed her. If she is killed, we don't even know that.
Number 2, Goodbye, Natalie Wood.
What happened? What actually took place? What really actually did happen?
The life of Natalie Wood was one of intense highs and lows. On one hand, Wood was a beloved actor with legions of fans who flocked to see her films. On the other, she reportedly suffered from an assault from an unnamed Hollywood heavyweight at a young age, and her death by drowning was steeped in speculation.
Do you believe Natalie Wood was murdered?
I think it's suspicious enough to make us think that something happened.
Wood, who reportedly couldn't swim and was terrified of water, was found on November 29, 1981, after a yachting excursion. Wood's tumultuous marriage to actor Robert Wagner was also placed in the spotlight, while the presence of Christopher Walken on the boat further had fans asking who knew what and when. It's still unclear as to how exactly Natalie made it into the water and what happened that night.
We have not been able to prove that this was a homicide, and we haven't been able to prove that this was an accident either. The ultimate problem is we don't know how she ended up in the water.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, the Black Dahlia. It's one of the most infamous and gruesome cold cases of all time. It's the Black Dahlia, aka Elizabeth Short, the Hollywood acting hopeful whose death continues to obsess true crime historians.
Kind of had hopes of being a star, but ended up kind of freeloading off of a bunch of different people, you know, having what is today called a sugar daddy, and it kind of got her into a lot of trouble with a bunch of different men that are possible suspects in this case.
The murder of Short is remembered today for its shocking violence, with her nude body grotesquely posed and drained of blood with near surgical precision. Additionally, the wealth of misinformation and tabloid titillation regarding the case impeded official investigations as to what exactly occurred.
Police had to sift through 500 tips coming in from people described as an array of housewives, soldiers, winos, farmers, and clergymen. Even decades later, the LAPD has said that they still receive around half a dozen confessions every year.
Meanwhile, the investigation was also marred by instances such as when a prime suspect, embalming assistant Leslie Dillon, was held against his will and not given the right to an attorney. This information does little, sadly, for Short, whose killer will likely never be brought to justice.
Douglas notes that so much information can be ascertained from the murderer's interactions and time he spent with the body, that today the crime would be, quote, very solvable.